Okay, the parole board is called back to order. My name is Pete Freeman. I'm the acting chair. To my left is Ms. Ledoux. To my right is Mr. Tillis. Today we're here for the parole hearing on Steve Stewart. I am going to read some information into the record, Mr. Stewart. If you have any disagreements, we can discuss it. Mr. Stewart, you are a first felony offender. You have a parole date of 11/16/2023. You have a good time date of 3/11/43. You have a full term date of 10/6/2092. You were originally sentenced to a life sentence for second degree murder. That sentence was commuted to 99 years. Is that correct, sir?
Yes, sir.
Okay. We have plenty people here, so we're gonna try to get through this and name everybody that's here and stuff that's gonna be participating today. In opposition, we have Mr. Bernard Sanchez and Ms. Stephanie Sanchez. They're here with us at headquarters. Attorney, we have Adrian Hutchinson. Ms. Hutchinson. Okay, when they said Gemma Bourgeois, she's there with you?
Yeah, she's a law clerk for LPP this summer. So she's just here in support with LPP.
Okay, thank you. Carrie Myers from the Louisiana Parole Project. Stacy Palazzola, I'm sorry. Chaplain Hunt. Timothy Wilkins, friend. Mercedes Stewart, mother. Sherry Crossley, friend. Charles DeGrabo, friend. Chantel Gardner, cousin. Tara Raven, girlfriend. Ronald Oliver, friend. Gaynell Stewart, sister-in-law. Olivier Dickinson, niece. John Dickinson family. Lloyd Giroux, friend. Sydney Martin, friend. Jessica Williams, friend. Jill Jasmine, friend. Carrie Stewart, brother. Roy Waller, friend. Mary Waller, friend. Arthur Rose, chaplain. Michael Palmer, chaplain. Brian Johnson, friend. And John Foon, Project Hunt Correctional Center. Did I skip anyone? Okay. Okay, so as I stated, today we're here for the parole hearing on Steve Stewart. Mr. Stewart, please tell me what you did in this offense, what led up to it, and why should we consider paroling you today?
Yes, sir. First of all, I would like to explain to the board that I don't take any delight in really talking about my crime because I really don't want to make it seem like it was the victim's fault. Because everything that happened, it was because I made a bad decision. So Brock and I, we knew each other because we had previous dealing with each other. And on a particular morning, Mr. Brock came through to purchase drugs. I told him I didn't have any drugs. Then he asked me if I could exchange a large bill for him. I told him yes. I gave him the money, and he pulled off with it, and I ended up shooting him. I shot him in the shoulder, and I shot at the truck a few times, and that was it. That's what happened.
Okay, and tell us why should we consider letting you out today?
Well, the reason I don't think that I should automatically be released. I think that that the board should consider the things that I've done throughout my incarceration to see whether I'm worthy of release. There are a few contrasts that I would like to present to the board. When I committed this crime, I was 21 years old, and now I'm 53. When I committed this crime, I had an 8th grade education. Now I'm sitting before you with a bachelor's degree. in Christian ministry, and I have several vocational trades. At that time, I wasn't employable, but now I'm employable. I can go out and I can contribute to society. As a pastor, a mentor, or someone who's volunteered as a hospice volunteer for the last 25 years, it have taught me the value of life. It taught me how to be compassionate toward others. It has taught me the importance of life, not just how a person live, but also how a person died and die with dignity. So I believe that those things can transfer to society. And I believe that if you give me the opportunity to continue my sentence out there in society, that I'll be an asset to the community.
Thank you, sir. Okay, Ward, what do you have to say about Mr. Stewart?
I would just add that Mr. Stewart has an excellent disciplinary record. Hasn't had any write-ups at all in 15 and a half years. Only one disciplinary report in the last 24 years, and that was 15 and a half years ago for a simple fight with another inmate. He is a good example of rehabilitation here in the prison. He serves as a lead mentor for some of our programming for inmates who struggle with substance abuse and behavioral issues. So he carries himself in as a positive light and a role model to them, and helps them in their rehabilitative process.
Okay. Okay, now we're gonna go to those that are in favor of his release. Mr. Kerry Myers.
Good morning, Kerry Myers with Louisiana Parole Project. We're here to support Mr. Stewart primarily because of the totality of Mr. Stewart's rehabilitation. I know this board considers difficult cases every single day. None of them, when especially a violent crime, there's no such thing as a good violent crime. They're all bad. The difference is, who is the person before you now? The 21-year-old Mr. Stewart doesn't exist anymore. Steve Stewart is someone I know personally, in addition to advocating for here today as a person who would participate in our program. He is as prepared and ready as anyone I've ever seen to be here in front of you today. His record, as the warden said, is exemplary. His character to be in the position that he's in there as a mentor, as a lead mentor, it's a hand-selected position. He was brought there to Hunt Correctional specifically to help develop the programs there. He has earned a bachelor's degree. He has done everything that is possible. And I don't believe that the Department of Corrections can do anything more for Mr. Stewart. We're here to help him in his transition. 32 years of incarceration. He has to relearn the world. He needs a steady, safe place to do that. Parole Project will provide that. We'll provide him with a mentor to guide him through the process. He'll have the benefit of our full capabilities and resources to help him through that. Once he is ready to leave us, he has a support system. But should he choose to stay in the Baton Rouge area, we will find him employment. He is employable. He has an HVAC certification. He's highly employable. So we would ask this board to consider Mr. Stewart and the man he is today in making their decision and grant his parole today.
Okay, Miss Stacy Palazola.
Stacy Pulzola, I'm the Catholic chaplain at Glen Hunt. I met Steve in 2014 in some activities that were occurring in the chapel. We have maintained a relationship through faith-based activities. What I was able to witness is a gentleman who has accepted the challenges of his incarceration by trying to become a better version of the young man who was in jail 32 years ago. He's taken advantage of every educational opportunity, career training, life skills, every type of training, and he's mastered them. After mastering them, then he became an instructor to teach others and try and give them the same opportunity. His leadership and his mentorship skills have earned him a great deal of respect on the compound, as well as with the staff. He has a great work ethic, he's motivated, and he serves his brothers in a tremendous spirit of humility. I believe honestly that Steve can be a very successful and productive member of society, and I personally would be happy to have him as a neighbor. I think he is a wonderful candidate of what successful rehabilitation looks like.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Palazzo. Next, we're gonna have, Timothy Wilkinson, a friend.
Good morning, my name is Tim Wilkinson. I have the privilege and pleasure to speak from my behalf as well as from Steve Stewart's mother's behalf, Ms. Mercedes Stewart, who's here with us today. There are a lot of things that can be said about Steve, about his accomplishments, the educational components. I'd like to talk to you a little bit about who the person is and his heart and what he does. You know, it takes a special kind of person to spend 25 years nursing folks who are at their end of life. It takes a special kind of person to dive into ministry to help folks come to God. You know, I remember at one point I was incarcerated in my life, and Steve had a big love for Kairos, and we would go Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, we'd go the weekend, listening to other men minister to us about the love of God. And by doing that, he was not only depositing into other people, he was depositing into the people that they would reach out and touch as well. Ms. Stewart suffers from congenital heart failure. She loves her son, she misses her son. She knows that her son made some bad decisions. And he knows that as well. He's taking accountability for what has happened. He's very remorseful. And we are praying for, hopeful that this board, in all of your responsibility, will find reason to grant his release. The last thing I'll say before I take my seat is that I came before this board not long ago. I've been out of prison for some years, and about a year ago I was before this board. And since that time, since this board said to me, we are hereby granting you, I managed to land a job working as project manager for the Louisiana Parole Project. I'm married, and for the first time in my life, in 2 weeks, I'm getting ready to buy my first house. I want to be clear with you. That is a direct result of this board, this entity believing in rehabilitation. It is impossible for me to have been here before you if not for Steve Stewart. See, he coached me 25 years ago when he had no chance of coming home. And in no way do we disregard what happened in this situation. Horrible. I'm here to say that man today, he's not that 21-year-old man from over 30 years ago. We ask and we pray for release. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next we'll hear from Ms. Hutchinson. Ms. Hutchinson.
Good morning, board. Thank you for your time today. Today, we asked the board not to evaluate whether Steve has served enough time, because we know parole doesn't remove the sentence, but rather changes the manner in which he serves his sentence. Today, we ask you to evaluate and determine whether Steve has proven through his almost 32 years in prison whether or not confinement within the Department of Corrections is still necessary, or if his showing of remorse and his record of rehabilitation, maturity, discipline, and self-control are substantial enough to prove that he is not a threat to society and can serve the remainder of his sentence under the supervision of the Department of Probation and Parole. So let's discuss some of those factors, right? So we know that the board wants to make sure that Steve is done with criminal activity and that the Steve of today is a rule follower. So we can look to his Tiger score, which indicates a low risk of recidivating, or that at 53 years old, Steve has substantially aged out of criminal activity. Or that he's followed the rules within the institution with only 8 infractions in almost 32 years, his last one in 2008, and a trustee status that allows him to work and go about the institution freely, all right? Next, we would go on and ask whether or not Steve has done what is necessary to be successful in society. The opposite of what he was doing before, all right? So Steve has acknowledged that he was undereducated at the time of the crime. He had an 8th grade education when he entered the drug trade and couldn't sustain or maintain any type of gainful employment. The Steve of today has a GED, an associate's degree, and a bachelor's degree from the New Orleans Baptist Theological Seminary. And if you see the cover letter of my brief in pages 3 and 4, he has multiple vocational certificates, HVAC, diesel tech, electrical tech, to name a few, but it's about 17 of them. He has guaranteed immediate employment upon release with his brother, who has a cleaning service, but also within his package, you'll see that he will go on and be assessed and receive on-site training from Employee BR for long-term career placement. And next, we ask you to evaluate Steve's remorse, his maturity and humility, and his growth and rehabilitation. Steve has taken all the victim awareness classes, but additionally, he participates yearly in Victims Awareness Week at Hunt. He never wants to forget the effects of the crime and what it has done to a family and community. His maturity and humility are shown in over 2 decades of hospice and end-of-life care. As he stated, making sure men who die within the institution pass along with dignity and they're never alone. He's taking classes on transferable diseases to make sure that the hospice team stays safe. He cleans the men after they pass, consoles the family, and helps with the burial and the cremations. He also takes end-of-life care classes for caregivers because we know how hard that can be on a person. But he's remained in this place and persevered with it. His growth and rehabilitation through programming, it's immense. Pages 2 through 9 of the brief go through, again, 2 decades of hospice care, 17 vocational certificates, 2 degrees, over 25 classes that Steve has either facilitated, mentored, or tutored, and participation in over 70 faith-based self-help or DOC programs. This includes being the coordinator of the transition program, which also does the residential drug abuse program, and the senior pastor of the non-denominational Christian Brotherhood Fellowship.
Can you kind of wrap it up for us, please, ma'am?
Sure. If I can talk about, just lastly, there's a letter in his brief from Dr. Searcy, who is the corrections program manager here at Hunt. Dr. Searcy said of Steve, who he's known for 10 years, he serves with incredible distinction in the face of highly challenging situations, and he remains solid. He specifically asked the board to give Steve the relief, as he could only hope to have him as a neighbor. So today, I really ask the board to look at all that Steve has done. He's done it officially and authentically. And I implore you to ask the questions you need to test what needs to be done to give you an ease at this decision, that he no longer needs to serve the rest of his sentence within confinement, and that this can be done through parole. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for coming today. Okay, next we'll have the opposition, Miss Stephanie Sanchez, sister.
Good afternoon. Me and my family is in opposition of his release. Grief. Deep in your soul, grief. Me and my brother was 11 months apart. We grew up like twins. That grief is just so deep in. What did it do to my family? It caused my mother, the death of my brother caused my mother to be in a mental institution for for a long time. And we had to go visit there because of her grief of losing her son. It's just deep, it really is. Not having my brother in my life, it's awful. It has destroyed a concept of a family that we know today, completely. His release date should be 24. When Steve woke up that morning, he packed a gun, he loaded a gun and he put it in his pants and went to that corner. And why did he do it? It was an intent to use it. He was intent on using it. My brother did not have a chance to do all these things Steve was doing. He didn't have a chance to be an asset to the community because his life was taken away. A life for a life, should it be? I mean, who knows? But does people change? Of course they do. My brother never had that chance to change. He's in the graveyard, you know, and we have to go visit him there. If Steve is granted release, me and my family, we have a family business that's been there for over 60 years. And everyone in our community knows us. We're vibrant in that community. We ask that he not be released or work in the River Parish area at all. Because of not only what it's done to us, but what it could do. Because last hearing we were at, there was a lot of ugliness on when I walked to my car from all that has occurred of what was said to me. So we ask that if he is released, he not be released to the River Parish or work there. Thank you.
Ma'am. Okay, this case has been assigned to Ms. Ledoux. Ms. Ledoux, would you do the questioning, please?
Mr. Stewart, a lot of people have said a lot of things, and I have not heard from you enough. I read, I'm not gonna lie, you had 600 and something pages in this report. Probably 200 were all of your certificates. So I didn't read them all, sorry. But I do want to hear from you. I want to hear, since you've taken victim impact, victim awareness, tell me about how this has affected you, this crime.
Well, it has never been easy for me because I understand that the damage that I've caused when I took a life. And I understand the hurt and that loss hurt on so many different levels. And there's nothing that you could ever do to kind of like make it better for the victims. But one of the things that I decided to do is to help people, because I understand that in the process of helping people, you're not hurting them. You're giving them an opportunity you're giving yourself an opportunity and you're giving those people an opportunity to be better. When it comes to victim impact, I didn't understand that the thing that I did, that it was affecting more than just me and Brock, but it affected everybody that was connected to us. I understand that. I understand that if there's anything that I could do to make things better, I would. It's just difficult because I understand that the trauma that's involved. And when Brock was killed, and when I found out that he was killed.
I think you need to rephrase that, not when Brock was killed. How should that be stated?
When I took Brock's life,
Thank you.
thank you, ma'am. When I took Brock's life and I realized that he was deceased, I turned myself in. I turned myself in because I realized that I didn't want to kill him. In spite of all that happened, it wasn't my intent to kill him. And I'm sorry. If I could go back and do things differently, I wish I would have never had a gun. I wish I would have never been out there in the streets or committing crime. So those are the things that I realized that I had done bad. And ever since then, I've been working on becoming a better person, a person that people can see as someone who's dependable, someone who has integrity, someone who has compassion. And that's what I've been working on every year. They have victim awareness program here at the prison. I always participate in the victim awareness program because I understand that this is hard for the victim and everybody that's involved. I understand the pain that's involved in it. And I'm deeply sorry for what happened. And I can't say it enough. And I take full responsibility.
What happened, not for what happened, for what.
For what I did.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you understand why I'm doing this?
Yes, ma'am.
I need to hear you take responsibility and you own it.
Yes, ma'am. I did. I'm taking responsibility for it. I did commit the crime. And ma'am, it hurts that I did take his life. And that's why it's always difficult for me to talk about it, because I know what I did was wrong. And I wish there was something that I could do to make things different, to make it different.
So you've been participating in hospice for quite some time. What has been the most important thing you've learned personally through hospice care?
The most important thing I've learned through hospice care is being compassionate, helping people to pass from this life to the next with dignity, the value of life and how important life is to people. And not only that people want to know that they're loved and that they're cared for and that they don't want to be alone at the end of life. And that's important. In fact, one of the things that we do here with hospice care, we make sure that none of the guys die alone. We have what you call vigil. We sit with them for 24 hours, and we make sure that they're never by themselves. We make sure that they're clean. The things that they cannot do for themselves, we make sure that we do it for them. And at one point in time, I thought I wouldn't be able to do such a thing, but the more that I work with the men, and I realized that they appreciate us being there for them.
Mr. Stewart, I'm going to give the opportunity to my colleagues to ask any questions they may have.
John?
Good afternoon, Mr. Stewart. How are you?
Good.
You said earlier that you knew the victim.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Okay. And you said, well, I'm asking, you went through Parole ministry?
Yes, sir.
You did?
Yes, sir.
Did you share any of your cookies?
Yes, sir. Yes, I did.
You do realize in Kairos that it teaches you the choices we make are the choices we have to live with, right?
Yes, sir.
I went through your file and you've really tried to do good, and I really appreciate that. What you did was wrong, and you're living with it. And I hope that you can keep up the good work. That's all the questions I have.
After parole project, where are you planning on living if you get out?
So, my plans is to go to, live in Sorrento and, with my cousin Ricky. And if not them, try to become a long-term resident at the parole project until I'm able to relocate in, Baton Rouge.
I have no further questions.
I'd like to ask for an executive session.
Could I ask for, executive session? Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Can I hear a roll call, please?
Mr. Freeman,
Yes.
Mr. Tillis,
Yes.
Ms. Ledoux.
Yes.
We'll be adjourning for executive session for a few minutes to discuss confidential matters. Okay, we're called back to order. Would you do a roll call, please?
Mr. Freeman,
Yes.
Mr. Tillis,
Yes.
Ms. Ledoux.
Yeah.
Okay, we're resuming our hearing. I think, the panel is ready to vote. Ms. Ledoux, since you were,
I took lead on this case. We've all reviewed it carefully. There's a balance here. I'm saying this to educate, okay? There's a balance here. You have so many factors. The number one factor I look at is public safety. That's what we've been given the charge is to evaluate public safety. I also look at the amount of time served, victim opposition and law enforcement, the rehabilitative process, the amount of support in prison conduct. Based on the review of all of those factors today, my vote is to grant parole with some conditions. And that would be no contact with anyone in the area that the offense took place.
tell us,
My vote is to concur with Ms. Ledoux.
how old are you, Mr. Steve?
53, sir.
53. When you turn 54?
I turn 54 in July next year.
The only thing was holding me up is that, you know, when you came for your clemency, they had said that they wanted you to be 55 before consideration, but that does not override anything. So that's kind of holding me up, and we do have strong opposition from the district attorney. We have opposition from the victims. So, it's my hang up. I mean, it is. I mean, I'm on the pardon committee too, and they wanted you paroled after you turn 55. And it's too long for me to grant that far out. What is the river parishes you're talking about, ma'am? What's the parishes of your store?
Yeah, like what Ross, Fletcher, Reserve, Jaredville.
Okay.
Those are-
I'm gonna definitely keep him off of those areas. Sorrento, okay.
I don't think about your Sorrento on there.
Okay, but I was river paris.
St. James, St. John.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so you know, you've done everything. What can I say? You've done everything, but these victims still do suffer and they don't need to suffer anymore. I'm also gonna vote to, I'm still hung up on that 55. Y'all know that. I got to vote to deny. I'm sorry. The clemency said 55. When you turn 55, I'm gonna tell the victims right here now, if I'm on the board, I am gonna vote for this man to get out when he turns 55. Okay, but that was what the clemency said, and that's when they want you out. So, you know, another year and 10 months, reapply, and I guarantee you'll get one vote.
Next question.
We're not gonna leave.
Okay, thank you. All right.
All right, we are back in session and we are ready to consider our next case, and that would be Mr. Steve Stewart. Mr. Stewart, good morning.
Good morning.
Would you introduce yourself for the record, sir? Tell us your name and DOC number.
My name is Steve Stewart, DOC number 337546.
Okay, and you have counsel with you. Counsel, would you introduce yourself?
Good morning, board. Adrienne Hutchison, attorney for the Louisiana Parole Project, here on behalf of Mr. Steve Stewart.
Okay, thank you. We have quite a number of people here in support today on Zoom. We have the Parole Project, Mr. Myers, Mr. Reginald Watts, also on Zoom. Here at headquarters, we have Tara Raven, Stacy Polizzola, and Tim Wilkerson. At Hunt, this is who I have on my list: Carrie Stewart, Roy Waller, Ron Hicks, Keith Bozier, Gil Jasmine, Sydney Morton, and Mary Waller. Did I miss anybody?
No, ma'am.
We also have some folks here with us at headquarters in opposition. We have Stacy Bates and Stephanie Sanchez. And also of note, I have listed on my sheet that are not speaking, they're viewing, but have an interest, is Charles Degrabels and Arthur Rhodes. So first, let me just put some information into the record. Mr. Stewart was originally sentenced in March 1994 to a life sentence for second-degree murder. His sentence was commuted by Governor Edwards in November of 2023. His sentence was commuted to 99 years with parole eligibility after attaining age 55. It's my understanding your 55th birthday will be July 15th of 26. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
So the reason you came up for parole before that date was because a different legislative act, Act 122, made you parole eligible sooner than your 55th birthday. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. You had a parole hearing August 8th of 2024. You received 2 votes to grant, 1 vote to deny, which it has to be a unanimous vote. So that outcome was that your parole was denied at that time. And you submitted a request for reconsideration based on a technicality. And that request was granted. And that's why we're here again today. Is all that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So we've been through those preliminaries. Your case, well, first, let me ask Ms. Hutchinson, is there anything you'd like to say to us before we hear from those who are in support?
Just that you read Mr. Rhodes and Mr. DeGravel's name towards opposition, but they are in support. So I just wanted to, okay. You know, it just,
I said support. I'm sorry. It does indicate that they are in support. Thank you.
yes. And I will speak at the end when the panel determines its approach.
Okay. Morton, is there anything you want to tell us about Mr. Stewart?
He's been housed in Elaine Hunt since 2019. He's abstained or obtained a level 3 minimum custody status. He's currently a lead mentor and he's housed in our VETS program gone. His last write-up was in 2008, so he spent 17 years disciplinary report free.
And sir, I see Warden Turner has stepped out and we had his name recorded on the record. Would you introduce yourself for the record, sir?
Deputy Warden Luke Reams.
Okay. Good to see you, Warden Reams.
Deputy Warden.
All right. Could we hear from Mr. Myers, Kerry Myers with the Parole Project?
There we go. Good morning, Kerry Myers with Louisiana Parole Project. We want the board to know that we're here in support of Mr. Stewart. We've been in support since prior to his clemency hearing, through his first parole hearing, and now. And there are several reasons why. One is before you. I'm not going to go through all that. You have his extensive record. He has been incarcerated for 32 years. I believe just that, rehabilitation, and I believe Mrs. Stewart has shown that, starts with accountability and recognition of the harm that was caused. It's also requires a desire to change and an action based on that desire. And Mr. Stewart has done those things. And he's done it beyond what I would consider to be anything that would be minimally required of him. He's gone above and beyond. We're prepared to house and provide housing and support for Mr. Stewart, at least up until his 55th birthday, which is 10, 11 months from now. If there's any concerns about that, we certainly would be willing to keep him in our housing and in our program for at least that time. We would just ask the board to consider Mr. Stewart's rehabilitation, his remorse, the work that he's done, not only on himself vocationally and cognitively, but the work that he's done to give back to his communities through hospice, through Point Lookout, through being a leader and a mentor, everywhere he's been. So I'm not taking the board's time anymore. Just ask this board to grant us parole today.
Mr. Myers, here with us, we have the chaplain, Stacy Polozola. Would you like to speak? Would you step up to the podium, please?
Good morning.
Morning.
My name is Stacy Polozola. I've been at Elaine Hunt for 20 years. 18 of those years were as a volunteer. In the last couple, a little part-time as the Catholic chaplain out there. So part of my journey, though, that brought me to the Department of Corrections out at Elaine Hunt with my own journey as a victim of violent crime. So before I always agree to either speak and or like letter of recommendation, I'm always looking at it through the eyes of not only my relationship with that person, but also through the eyes of what it must be like for the victim. You have the paperwork in front of you to see the accomplishments and opportunities that Mr. Stewart has taken advantage of during his incarceration. So, we're not going to go over that. But for me, what I also like to look at is how an inmate deals with disappointment, with bad news, or bad health diagnosis. And since 2014, I've watched Steve on multiple occasions when those have occurred. And he's dealt with them with much grace and integrity. His faith, has never in those moments wavered, and his spirit remains steadfast. So I guess in closing, if the state of Louisiana were to write a new curriculum on what rehabilitation would look like, Mr. Stewart would be a perfect example of what success looks like. He has a plan. He has done everything that he possibly could do to make the most of 33 years and 32 years. And I also pay attention to what time really is. In a few hours, we're all going to be looking at our watch because we're going to be wanting lunch, or we're going to be looking at 4 o'clock on for Friday or the summer vacation. 32 years is a long time with the Department of Corrections, and he has made the most of what a person could possibly do in this situation. Thank you for letting me speak.
Thank you. Being here. Mr. Wilkerson, would you want to say a few words?
Good morning, and thank you for giving me this opportunity. I can echo the statements that Ms. Polozola made. I mean, Steve Stewart's record is in front of you, all of those accomplishments, but I've known him for a number of years, and I think for me, the reason why I've been before the board twice on his behalf is because he not only embodies rehabilitation, he embodies being the person that we all desire to be something. Despite the decisions that he made early on in life, he has been to the community in which he lives for so long. Any person that is willing to serve someone in hospital or hospital for 25 years, that for me, that's an indication of your character. That's an indication of your love for mankind. So we can talk about all the things that he's done on paper, but his actions show. And just not long ago, a few weeks ago, I was talking with Steve, and I asked him the same question that I'm sure that you all may ask. And I said, Steve, why do you believe that you should be paroled? What's your reason? I have my reason. I know why you should be paroled, but why do you believe that you should be paroled? And I'm glad his mother, Miss Mercedes Stewart, and other family members are coming in right now. I'm so glad that they made it here. They were trying. Miss Mercedes suffered from condition of heart failure. His family has watched Steve come full circle for 32 years. And so when I asked him, I said, why do you believe that you should be paroled? His words to me were, I want to be paroled so that I can serve my community. He didn't say so that I can rebuild my life, so that I can do this, so that I can do something for me. He still is maintaining that he wants to serve the community, and he has done that for 32 years. There are a few people that have the record, not on paper, but being a man of character and learning from his mistakes that I've encountered through my journey throughout the Department of Corrections and now beyond. So I ask this board to please consider granting his board.
Thank you. All right, Mr. Stewart, did you hear that your mother was able to come into the room?
My mother, yes.
We have some other folks that have joined us. Let's see, Olivia Dickinson, Mercedes Stewart, your mother, Asia Brown, and Richard Gardner. So you know. All right, Ms. Hutchinson, we'd like to hear your presentation now before we hear from the victim.
Thank you, committee. And before I start my presentation, I would like to acknowledge the Brock family that I know is present. I don't want them to think that any of the things that I say about the man that Steve is today is to diminish the hurt and pain that I know the family has felt. When you think about what a person being granted parole should look like and what their life should look like in their time in prison, I believe it's twofold. Because I think it's really the only way to gauge true remorse, and that's where it really starts. First, what has the person done to change who they are? Because if you're truly sorry for what you've done, then you'll do everything in your power to change from being that person. And then second, what has that person done to give back, to atone for their crime, and a crime that is so painful and hurtful as taking a life? You have before you the largest brief I've ever submitted, providing the depths of those two folds. And after speaking with classification this morning, I probably only had about half of his accomplishments, his work and his volunteer work, because I think her packet was larger. And it's not that big simply because he's been incarcerated for over 30 years, but because of the consistent, constant, and real work he's done and continues to do even after his denial last year. From being undereducated and entering prison with an 8th grade education, he has an associate's degree, a bachelor's degree, and hours towards his master's degree. He's hireable with vocational skills in HVAC, electrical, construction site management, and generator and engine repair. But this just shows that he's moved on from the life he was living and is educated and employable now. I think the second fold is the important fold. It's the dedication to remorse and the shame that comes with taking a life. It comes from wanting to put something back into the world that's good after causing so much pain. It shows the internal change that makes a person no longer a threat to society. And what that looks like with Steve is over 20 years in hospice care, both at Angola and at Elaine Hunt. It's coordinating the transition program. It's pastoring and ministering at his church. It's tutoring in the education department. It's mentoring in the residential drug abuse program, teaching in the transitional program, and being a walking role model with only 8 disciplinary infractions in over 30 years. and almost 30 classes that he's facilitated, mentored, or tutored. Steve is the whole picture of growth, education, humility, gratitude, change, and the profound remorse that he carries forever for taking Mr. Brock's life that led to these everyday actions. That's why his reentry plan is tailored towards the concerns that the Brock family said on his last hearing. He heard them. He will not be returning to the river parishes. It's outlined in the brief, those parishes. He will be with the Louisiana Parole Project till 55 to compensate for what the pardon board had requested, because we know the legislation takes precedence. But lastly, to grant Steve parole, someone who is a proven leader in behavior, teaching, and ministry, doesn't just benefit Steve, but the entire prison community. And I mean that beyond the walls of Elaine Hunt, because Steve's work with individuals you can see in all DOC institutions. His example of consistent integrity, personal growth, and service has inspired. And if granted parole, will continue to inspire others within the prison that the world sees their positive change. We acknowledge it, and that real redemption and rehabilitation, which we know to be true with Steve, can provide tangible outcomes. It's time to move Steve out of the way. Move him out the way so others can step up. Because people here know Steve's got it. He'll handle it. He'll teach it. Make way for others to move up into that spot. Give inspiration and motivation to others who aren't quite there yet, but look and see him every day on the wall. Allow them to walk in his footsteps as he moves on. He's ready, willing, and able to lead outside of this prison. He's inspired groups that come in all the time about the power of redemption and rehabilitation. And the many men that are here and present with you today are in this room because part of their rehabilitation came from Steve, whether it was as a mentor, a tutor, or a minister. So today we ask the board to see what all of them have seen in Steve and provide him a second chance with the guidance of the Louisiana Parole Project and any conditions this board and the family deems necessary. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. All right, now we'll hear from the opposition, and Ms. Stephanie Sanchez wants to speak.
Hey, good morning, everybody. So I keep hearing, life, when you think about what we've missed, we're gonna focus on my brother for a while. He died at a very young age. Some specifics to the murder was that he wasn't just shot once, he was shot multiple times. And a bullet finally went into his lung. And he felt the pain of that. And felt his life flash in front of his face while he slowly died as his lungs filled up with blood. My brother was a mechanic. He was full of life. He was loved by us. He was loved by his family. And there's not a day that goes by that we don't think of what we're missing. The kids he might have had that might have carried his legacy on that we have nothing of him. I don't know if you can truly feel the loss and the grief unless this has happened to you personally. My mom always said, the loss of a child was a hole in a heart that could never ever heal. When she passed away, she was a very depressed person because that person wasn't in her life anymore. It carried on to us, her grief and loss. It carried on to her grandchildren. It affected every moment and every second of our life, and it still does. The holidays, the vacations, the memories that we no longer have. My brother was full of life. He loved to drive race cars. He was an awesome mechanic. He worked side by side with my dad. It's just when we went to trial, it was life without parole, and we was able to slightly move on knowing that justice will be served. But, then it was 99 years, and then the 99 years turned into another number. And we just feel, he served a little over a quarter of his sentence and less than half of his sentence if we go back to the 99 years. I still, we have moved on. we've learned to live without my brother, you know, all of us. And we have to carry his memory in our children and our grandchildren, you know, but we just feel that at least half that sentence should be served. That is fair to us. Because it was tragic, you know, it wasn't one bullet, it was multiple bullets that was being shot until a life had ended. It was violent. And you shouldn't kill people. It's, you know, it's not something that we do. You know, we live in a society where we shouldn't be doing it. And also the family feel that he should at least serve half his sentence. You know, and I hear, you know, about this life and all the people he's changed and, you know, and all, but, you know, we never had that opportunity. We never had that chance for my brother, you know, to make a change in his life, you know. It's just, it's gone, you know, and it's just a grief and a loss that, you know, it's deep, it's really deep. It affects every second of our life. Thanks so much.
Thank you for being here. All right, Mr. Stewart's case was assigned to Mr. Barra.
Yep. Mr. Stewart, we had a lot of people talking about you and for you, but we haven't heard anything from you. This is your shot. Go ahead and tell us why you think you would be a good candidate for parole, what you've been doing.
All right, thank you. Thank you for allowing me this opportunity. First and foremost, I would like to just extend my deepest heartfelt apology, you know, to the Brock family for causing them so much pain. And you know, I pray that they'll understand that my heart goes out to them, and I take full responsibility for what I did. The crime that I committed, it was senseless, and I'll never probably be able to live that down. But everything that I have done it with Mr. Brock in mind, because I don't want to be a person who continue to hurt, but I want to be a person who serve and help people, so we won't make any more victims. As for this, the thing that I've done since I've been incarcerated, I was doing these things even before I had an opportunity that I was going to ever be released from prison, because it was in that moment that I realized that what I did was wrong. When I took Mr. Brock's life, I turned myself into the authorities. And I admitted to the crime. So I just want the board to just consider the things that I've done, and let the things that I've done speak for me, because it hurt me. I can't even begin to explain the pain it caused me, even having to go through all this again, and even having to think about the situation, because my intent wasn't to kill Mr. Brock, but it happened. And now that's something that I have to continue to live with, and I got to continue to try to help other people to not go down the same path that I done went down. I see so many guys or men coming to this prison with no direction, and so I try to help lead them in the right direction. I work with hospice. I'm a pastor in this community. I understand what it's like when people is grieving and they're hurting, because I'm the ear that they have to come talk to now. So I understand. I know how to express empathy. At one time, I didn't know all these things. If I could go back and speak to my 21-year-old self back then, I'll tell them to be patient, not to overreact, not to make permanent decisions on temporary feelings. A lot of things I'll go back and tell my younger self, so he wouldn't have to encounter these things. So thank you. Is there, you know,
Sure. Anybody else has a question?
I have a couple of questions I just wanted to clarify. We were looking at your record a while ago, and we see from maybe 2014, 2019, you went back and forth to Angola for several days or weeks at a time. What was that about?
We are going back on different conferences. That's when we used to have different conferences, and they used to bring all the peer ministers back, and the pastors back for those different conferences.
Okay, yeah, all right. That's kind of what I thought. We needed some clarification. Thank you for that. I don't see any other questions, so I do believe the panel is prepared to vote. Mr. Bylaw?
Listening to the testimony and reading the reports, you have done a great job in prison. You have completed a lot of programs. Hearing the pain that the victims still suffer. I'm gonna go ahead and vote to grant your parole upon turning age 55. I think that's one of the points that maybe the victim thought would be a settling point, so I'm gonna go with that.
Ms. Ledoux? Can we go into an executive session? We have a motion for executive session. I'll second. Can you call the roll?
Cheryl Renata,
Yes.
Danny Barrow,
Yes.
Gary Ledoux.
Yes.
So we'll be in executive session for just a couple of moments to discuss confidential matters.
Can I mute it? Yep. Hold on.
All right, I'll make the motion that we return to regular session. It's 10:09. Is there any objection to the motion? All right, we're back in regular session. So, after our discussion of confidential matters, Mr. Barra has, asked to, reconsider his vote. So I'll ask for his vote at this time.
All right. I'm gonna still go ahead and vote to grant, but put the release date for May 1st of next year. That's as far as I can get it out there.
Mrs. Ledoux.
My vote is to grant parole with the condition that Mr. Stewart do not return to the parish of conviction, nor have any kind of contact with the victims whatsoever, as well as stay in the facilities and under the program for the Parole project for up to 1 year.
All right, my vote today, I voted for Mr. Stewart at his clemency hearing. My vote today also is to grant the parole with the same conditions that have been outlined by Mrs. Ledoux, that he do stay with the parole project at least to his age 55. Proceeding is that his parole has been granted to the parole project.